players. So Go is a board game that is popular in Asia, and it's far more complicated than chess. Many, many billions of potential moves. And the experts had thought that there's no way that a computer could beat a person at Go for a good number of years still. Not only did the computer beat the person at Go, but it also exhibited something called emergent behavior. What that means is that the DeepMind computer that Google designed, it actually started to create its own moves and do things in a creative way that humans hadn't seen, Go experts didn't understand, and couldn't predict. They would see a move and say, why is he doing that? And so what was happening is that the artificial intelligence that built up that system, which is also called deep learning, had created its own ways of learning the game. It became essentially not just robotic, but in certain ways alive or emergent.
Alex, you're scaring us more and more, and we want more of it, though. We like those horror movies. So right now, we're going to take a brief break and remind our audience that you're listening to The Secrets of Success. My name is Bill Horan. The show is produced at 90.3 WHPC at Nassau Community College. We'll be right back after this brief intermission.
This portion of programming on WHPC is brought to you on behalf of the Nassau County Bar Association, helping both the public and lawyers since 1899. They are the largest suburban bar association in the country. The Nassau County Bar Association offers clinics where you can meet privately with an attorney to prevent or solve legal problems involving Hurricane Sandy, foreclosure, wills, or elder law. Speakers on almost any legal topic are also available to schools or community groups. They can also help lawyers advance their legal careers and offer a place to network. Learn more about the Nassau County Bar Association by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Secrets of Success. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and today we're speaking with Alex Salkever, the author of The Driver in the Driverless Car. Now, Alex, you were just scaring us, telling us sometimes these robots are really, in one example, coming up with things that the human mind didn't. So do we really have to be concerned about, kind of those horror movies where the robots start taking over and someone says, wait, we never thought of this. We don't know where the off button is.
For the near term, I would say no, although some very smart people are concerned about this. People such as Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, Stephen Hawking, the Nobel-winning physicist. The reason why I think we don't have to worry right now is when you look at artificial intelligence, or I'll just call it AI from now on, there's essentially two kinds of it, two forms. One is what they call weak AI, and the other is what they call strong AI. Weak AI means that a computer, a robot, what have you, can become very skilled and probably better than humans at discrete tasks, at specific things. So, for example, playing Go. Robots are doing things, AI is doing things in those specific domains that are really eye-opening. For example, there are a whole bunch of music composing AI systems that actually, in blind tests with music reviewers, have beaten a lot of human-composed music, so essentially indistinguishable. So a lot of the creative forms that we see, AIs can do that. But even there, it's not like you could tell the Go machine, okay, I want you to go build a spaceship to Mars. It can't do that. So that's what you call strong AI, and that's what you call general intelligence. And that's when robots, computers, etc., can start to look at problems that they have no insights into whatsoever from scratch, and they go and create interesting solutions to that. Now, the Go machine, DeepMind, it learned because humans showed it millions and millions and millions of Go games. So it looked at all these games, and it formed models for how this worked, and that's where its emergent behavior came from. Until we cross the threshold to general AI, which is not on the near-term horizon that I can tell, we don't really have to worry about that dark scenario. Once we cross into that sort of threshold, then it becomes very urgent that we start to think, what happens if the robots and the AIs become far smarter than we are? And what types of things do we need to put in place? Things like kill switches, things like governing laws that are buried deep inside of the code. If you look at I, Robot, which was Isaac Asimov's classic novel, there was a handful of basic laws of robotics that were essentially put in place to protect both the robots and the humans. And if you take this even further out, where it starts to get really interesting is, what rights do the robots have? If a human hits a robot, is that okay? Or if a human hits an intelligent piece of artificial life that we've created, is that okay? So you start to really ask deep questions about what it means to be human and what makes us actually different.
Now, those are the scary parts, but you're going to make a lot of people very happy in a few seconds, because I read a section in your book when you said schools will no longer exist. Do we hear the cheering out there? Yes, I hear it.
So I wouldn't say schools will no longer exist. I would say they won't exist in the way that we know them now. And I believe that because right now schools are kind of a one-size-fits-all experience. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll have a great teacher who can spend a little bit of time with you every day. Maybe there's a couple different class levels, but you're still essentially running on a quasi-industrial time schedule. Students go in September, they go out in June. They go in September, they go out in June. And if Johnny learns faster than Bill in math, but Bill learns faster than Johnny in Spanish, they're still chugging along in the same class. So what if we had a situation where every kid, or all of us grown-ups, because we'll all keep learning, can interact with technology to learn at their own pace, and even better, if the technology can recognize our learning style and start to customize and cater to ways that we learn. Now, this won't replace all human interaction. We'll still have people that teach us, except they'll be switching to more of a coach-like role. And if you think back to the way you spent your time in school, maybe it was different for you, although I suspect it was the same as me and probably the same for your listeners. A lot of it was what you would call broadcast, meaning the teacher stood in front of the class and told you a bunch of things, and you were supposed to sit there and learn them. Instead, what we're looking at in the future is technology does the broadcast, and it does the broadcast at the pace you need, and it gives you the style you want. And then when you have additional questions or need human interaction, you ask a teacher, a coach, and they give you more custom-specific ideas or information catering to what you actually need as an individual, as opposed to trying to tell everybody the same bits of information and hoping they all can process it.
And that makes a lot of sense, a lot better use of resources, teachers, space, classrooms, students' times, and even, as you said, the individuality. Why should everybody have to take 8 years for grammar school and 4 years for high school? For some of us, it might be 7 or 6 if we're really interested in it, and rather than be kind of bored in the class and making problems, etc., the time could certainly be used either for more fun, more learning, or certainly enjoying life a little more. Alex, once again, I want our audience to know the book is The Driver in the Driverless Car. And if you're hearing some amazing things, these are coming. If you're not planning for them, you're kind of going to be left out or a late bloomer. The book is by our guest, Alex Salkever, Salkever. Do yourself a favor, find out about this. Worst case is you're going to be the most interesting person at that next meeting. Alex, where can we get the book and the website?
So the website, the best place to find us is go to Amazon and search for Driver in the Driverless. It's a pretty memorable name. My last name also will turn up the book. My last name is Salkever, and you should be able to find it also in Barnes & Noble or probably your local bookstores. If it isn't there and you want it, ask them. We'd love to have them stock it.
Now, some good news. If I need a new kidney, basically I'll go to a place that might not be called the hospital. It might be called the technology center, I guess. But a 3D printer will knock one out. Did I read that correctly?
That's what we think will happen ultimately, yes. So even today, we now have printers that are printing biomaterials. Not necessarily living flesh, but skeleton material or things that can be implanted in bodies, things that we can accept as transplants. So we're printing skin, right now, which I believe they're testing. We're printing ears, I think. And kidneys, they've started to print some very basic human organs. The way this works is you have these systems that can layer one type of cell on top of another or one type of material on top of another, and in the case as they move towards much more true living materials, which they can print now, but it's still very tricky, then they will be able to take a look at, say, what your genetics look like, what your DNA looks like, maybe get a stem cell from you somewhere, because it is possible to get stem cells from living organisms. Put that into some type of cell culture, put it in a 3D printer, and from that give the printer instructions on how to print you a replacement kidney that ideally would be a perfect match because it would already have your DNA in it.
Give us some tips for the future. Knowing this, hearing what you just said, knowing that we're going to run out and get a copy of the driverless and the driver in the driverless car, how should we start preparing for this future? Are there any things like definitely you have to do this or do that or take this course, otherwise you're a failure?
I think the very best advice for people to live happily in the future is embrace your creativity. And that can be in a course, that can be reading books, that can be doing it yourself. But embrace the things that make you more than human. Not so much more than human, but that are above your rote existence, your daily existence. Along the way, I think it is very important to do things like study languages, study music. All of those things help our brains develop and thrive and really help us solve problems, because solving problems and interacting with other humans is probably going to be the best job protection you'll have in the future. And additionally, it will probably equip you even more if you end up not having a job in that future to have a happier life going forward.
Alex, one thing the future won't change, our time schedule here, so we have to thank our guest, Alex Salkever, the author of The Driver in the Driverless Car. Thanks so much for being with us today. We'd like to remind our audience you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we'll continue our journey to success.